So, where did you go to high school? Someone asks this question and then immediately creates their own life story for you. I met my coworker a few months ago, and as a conversation starter, he asked where I went to school. I named my small, public, city border school of Maplewood, Richmond Heights. But his immediate reaction is, oh, don't you mean Maplehood? I ask it back. They name their $20,000 a year tuition school with the same pride as someone who goes to Harvard, waiting for a compliment. He used it as a conversation ender, not a starter. That, from the information he had just gathered, assigned us into our social classes. This questioning of your education is not just to get to know you, it is because they want to know where you lie on the social and economical status ladder. You name a St. Louis school, there's already a stereotype attached. So forget your name, your interest, your hobby, your personality, because the person you just met has decided it all for you because of where you are able to enroll. Public education has shaped the basis of all education in our nation. But now the difference between your education in most of the United States is based off of 5 numbers for your zip code and will determine the amount of numbers on your paycheck for the rest of your life. The quality of our youth's education cannot be based off lines on a real estate. Let's dig into this question and look at how we have wed education quality with real estate value. Look at how zip codes define opportunities. And finally, show the way to education to its rightful place. Education was once viewed as a high privilege, opposed to the given opportunity now. John Dewey, the founding father of modern education, once said, quote, "Education is not preparation for life, education is life itself," end quote. Education was reserved for the wealthy, the white, the privileged. It wasn't until the 1900s that we started seeing forms of equity in education. Free and public education soon became the norm. Of course, this was a false promise because students were still denied access based on race. When Linda Brown was denied admission at a public elementary school in Topeka, her father challenged the denial, bringing the case to the Supreme Court in the famous Brown versus Board of Education case. The verdict was the court voting in favor of Brown, deeming segregation in schools as unconstitutional. Chief Justice Earl Warren said it best, quote, "Education is a right which must be available to all on equal terms," end quote. Another false promise. Not intentionally because of race or gender, but your home. The public school that you are enrolled in is based off of zip codes. Lines drawn by long-dead politicians form the boundaries of school districts. The income for your school is based off of the average property value in the area. Turner et al. From NPR says, quote, "The problem with public school funding that relies so heavily on property values is pretty straightforward. Property taxes vary so much between neighborhood to neighborhood, district to district," end quote. To see the stark difference, let's take a drive down Manchester, a part of Route 66, an iconic St. Louis road that takes you all the way from the inner city to the inner county in just one drive. As you're driving, you can picture the districts that you pass. You can picture the neighborhoods, from packed streets with cars on the curb to cul-de-sacs with 3-car garages. You can picture the homes, 1-story side-by-side to 3-story cookie-cutter ones with a white picket fence. And with data from Zillow.com, there is no need to picture. You can see the average home value. The Gate District in Maplewood, $270,000. Webster Groves and Kirkwood, $400,000. Parkways in Rockwood, $500,000. Just one street shows the insane change in home value the further you get away from the city, and not just change in value, but opportunities due to its self-perpetuating cycle. Nicer homes means good schools, and good schools keep home values high. So, what about these opportunities? The first differential is public versus private. Now, St. Louis is very unique in the sense of the amount of private schools that we have. And there is a culture of privilege that surrounds these schools, giving value to the question of where did you go to high school? But that is a whole other story. We will be talking about the public ones. Now, what do we really mean when we say good schools? 1, committed and compensated teachers. Students see teachers as a mentor during these difficult years in our lives. In 2022, we saw 300,000 teachers leave their profession. At least 100 Missouri schools are transitioning to 4 days, doing it to promote teacher hiring, as well as save money, though Missouri is ranked 47th in the country for highest teacher pay. 2, good facilities. Penn State research shows that students' attendance and performance increases when they have better funded facilities. 3, college prep. Schools must have the proper teachers and budget to teach college prep, such as APs. Public school 10 Minutes from Mine offers 24 AP courses. Mine and most city schools often can't afford half of those. 4, guidance. Tons of guidance counselors, college advisors, and teachers that specialize in helping you find that next step. 5, class content. A policy analyst shows that student empowerment increases when they have classes with subjective approaches to specific topics of interest. And 6, activities. Every time I go to a debate tournament, I look around at all the posters put up. These posters often, if not always, are displaying a club activity, ones that mine and most city schools often can't afford. These activities provide creative and supportive community outlets. Without these, students often do not have another safe outlet. Because of home value, students dread going to class because the facilities are uncomfortable. Because of home value, we can't even take half the APs that other kids get to. Because of home value, city kids can't look as good as other kids' college apps because of the small part that the state cut them into. Because of the value of my home. I'm not going to make it. I'm in no way saying that because students come from these areas that they won't make it. We have seen students emerge that go on to change and inspire the world, but they are doing it despite the system, not with assistance from. We must not let the fate of our lives be decided by the state. What won't work is allowing the state to come up with these solutions that only perpetuate worse private schools. The only solution is to bring it up to those that did make it. Those running our state right now because it is due to the lack of their acts. The current way we fund is known as the Missouri funding formula. The state will divide more money based off certain criteria. DESE, or the Missouri Department of Secondary Education, shares what those criteria are. They look at student adequacy target, or how well the student does on state testing. They look at the regional wage gap in the area, and they look at average attendance per student. Yet, the flaws with this system is that it all lies on the basis of home value. MoBudget.org shares that the state accounts for 30% of public school funding compared to the 47% national average. The same formula applies all throughout the state. So we must start at the root, which is this formula. If someone brings up this age-old question, turn it into a conversation of what you have learned today and vote. Get in touch with your local state House of Representative member and see what they can do to bring this problem to the table. Recommend solutions like dedicating a larger amount of the state's budget to fund public schools. Start treating public schools as other public services because we need support. The future and better for every student in America, it is out there. It is in here. It is with you. People who value education. People who understand the American dream of equity and opportunity. People like my family. My mother is an immigrant and my father is a first-generation American. Because of my public education, I'm not going to make it. But I want to. I want to make it for my father who grew up in an unsafe environment in Queens. An extremely intelligent first-gen who loves learning, but the system failed him. I want to make it for my auntie who spent her life apart from my dad back home in the Philippines. Intelligent, gifted, valedictorian of her class, and my role model. I want to make it for my mother who grew up lower middle class in schools that provided her nothing, yet has been teaching early education at public schools for 22 years. And her mother would get constantly mistreated at those same schools, but worked in schools for 30 years until she couldn't work anymore. And my great-grandma who taught me basic math and English, even though it was her second language, taught me to stand up for what I believe in. I want to make it. For myself, my father, my auntie, my mom, my own me, my own ma. I want to make it because of my public education, not despite. We must end this system of unfair funding because me and millions of students have been stripped from opportunities within our current system. We need a St. Louis, a Missouri, a United States, a world in which where did you go to high school? Is a question simply of mascots. Thank you.